Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. Massive result yesterday in the Americas with Sentinels officially booking their ticket to Bangkok alongside G2, taking down MRBR in a remarkable series last night. Plenty of other big results as well, but Zellsis' performance in this massive losers bracket match was turning all the heads, especially given Redux is not far off turning 18, and there was much talk before the season that if Zellsis didn't perform, maybe he would be out of the roster at a crucial moment. Zellsis steps up to the plate and secures Sentinels to potentially go one further and win Masters in Bangkok as they did in Madrid last year. Very much interested in your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Plenty to get into today. Starting here with EMEA. Man, this was a remarkable one. So Vitality played Team Heretics yesterday. This was a game that was difficult to call. Vitality, man, what an exciting roster they've put together. And I think this roster was only going to go one of two ways. Either it was a collapse and burn, and it may still do that, or it was just the best team in the region. And that is what they currently look like. This is Durka just waltzing in to the site on Haven and pretending he's a Euro clone. And the guys on the site are not expecting him to turn around after a couple of seconds and get 1 or 2 kills. Benji Fishy goes down, Boo goes down. And it's, you know, a sensational entry work out of, and even Boaster was watching this live and found it kind of remarkable what was happening in real time as, you know, he makes this highlight play, fake cloning in the upper bracket final to give them a sizable advantage on the Haven, which they eventually close out. So what a result from Vitality. Look, are Fnatic looking at their decision to get rid of Durka and saying, maybe that was a mistake? I don't know. But Vitality are certainly looking at their decision to sign him and saying, yeah, excellent situation. So Heretics, you know, they were excellent last year. I think they'll be excellent again this year. But in terms of, I don't know, like the team's very talented, great team cohesion and everything. But that Vitality team is a joke. Like, it is actually a joke. The fact that Durka was 0.81 rating with that performance, kicks, less, safe, treks, all outperforming him, is that's a scary sign for the opposition, right? So a great start for Vitality on the Haven. They actually lost a load of rounds in a row before eventually closing it out. It was a weird game for sure. And then the Abyss was absolute demolition job, 13-1 on the Heretics' pick. Again, we see this, like, you know, attacking side, just domination basically by the attacking side of the team. Maybe Abyss is something that some of these teams will want to steer away from. So look, it's not like Heretics are bad. They'll come back stronger probably today, but still, man, Vitality were, I think, the favourites going in, and they delivered on that. They've secured their spot to Bangkok. The other team that will go will be determined between Heretics and Team Liquid. Fair play to Liquid, actually, because I thought that FUT Esports here were my marginal favourites in this series. I thought that it was going to be a competitive one, and it was competitive. Team Liquid won the map 1, FUT Esports on their pick, Abyss 13-7. The Binet went their way, 13-11 back the other way, but then the Haven was 13-4. Pretty dominant at the end. Only Yetiye had a good series, or good map really, on the other side of things. Nobody else delivered, and Kamek on the Teho really took over here. So, you know, I think great story for PattyTech as well. I think what I'm excited for about this upcoming series is, of course, PattyTech did a great job last year subbing in for Heretics on many an occasion. And now he will play them to determine whether, you know, he will qualify for Bangkok or whether they will. So Edward Gaming, they've qualified for Bangkok. Trace Esports have qualified for Bangkok. Of course, G2 qualified, Vitality qualified, DRX qualified, and the final couple of teams we shall discuss in the next few minutes. Starting here with Talon playing Gen.G, and Talon went down 0-2. It was, you know, they tried to be competitive. Unfortunately for Primi, they just got clapped, really. Like, I wanted to believe in the storyline of Primi making the run to Bangkok. It'd be a great story. He ran the deadlock on both couple of maps, and he played well, but unfortunately, Gen.G were just way too good. It was 13-7, and on the Lotus, I mean, they all just got absolutely slapped around, really. It was 13-2. So, yeah, Gen.G, probably as expected, realistically, took down Talon. They advanced through to play T1 in the losers finals, and that game, if I hit the refresh, is currently looking like this. It's all to play for at the moment here, but T1 on the map 4 are currently up 11-6. So it's looking very good for a T1 victory here. You guys know that I love this T1 team, but just the fact that the Koreans have just really taken over this region, it should be no surprise. But, you know, with DRX qualifying, and now T1 versus Gen.G really for the qualification. PaperX, of course, nowhere to be found this tournament. And on the map 1, T1 won it 13-8. Of course, with all the changes with Meteor going there over to T1, right, like forming that roster, roster. Were Gen.G going to be able to put up the same fight they did previously after doing so well at the end of last year? Gen.G 13-8, or against Gen.G, on their pick it was 13-8 again. The Haven, Gen.G just won 13-5, but the split is now 11-6, now 11-7. So as I did yesterday, I'll presumably come back to this in a few minutes time and we'll see if we have a conclusion to this series results, because, I mean, yeah, it's always a banger in the Pacific. We know that it always delivers great matchups like this, but yeah, it's definitely the Korean players putting on the show in that region as of late. Before we get back to this, let's discuss what happened in the Americas, because this was the big gamer yesterday, basically Aspas versus Sentinels. I felt like Sen should be favoured, because as good as Aspas is, you know, can he carry his team to victory single-handedly back-to-back days? That was always going to be a challenge. But MIBR around Aspas still played pretty well. He had some support in this series, no doubt about it. But fortunately for Sentinels, they had Zellsis playing out of his skin. I mean, dropping something like this, as Ten says, life game, do it again, no balls. So Zellsis was an interesting spot coming into this season, really, where, I mean, even before the season began, there was talk about Redux, right? Is their substitute? Redux looking really good. Zellsis was in a couple of like stories on their Twitter where it was like countdown until Redux turns 18 and Zellsis was there looking nervous or whatever, right? They did stuff like this. And you know, sure, if you look at their roster with Narrate coming in and Bang coming in and John QT there, and of course Zekken ain't going anywhere, if they don't perform, Zellsis was theoretically the man who might be most at risk of getting changed out, as much as I rate him as a player. He turned up to this series and absolutely dominated. Now, they did lose. The only map they lost was an insane overtime on the Pearl. It eventually went 21-19 in favour of MIBR. They won, like, I think, yeah, the longest map in the history of the Americas, 1 hour, 38 minutes. Just absurd stuff. But outside of that, and outside of Aspas dropping the kill record, well, at least not the kill record in the series, but the first player in the Americas to get to 2,000 total kills, he couldn't do enough to get over the line, and many of these maps ended up being 13 or 3-9 at some point, and then either the comeback would come through or not quite enough, and Sentinels get the win in the end. So they should have been expected to get the victory here. Great series from Zellsis. Narrate had a good clutch as well to get them up early on in the series. Zekken was +12, Zellsis was +16, and in the end Aspas, despite a good series for sure, even, you know, maybe not so much by his standards, but, you know, he still had a good series. Artzan, though, was 12-24 in his first bloods. That hurt them to some degree. They won the Lotus 13-7. Zellsis had a great map here, of course, on the Vise, 24-12. They won the map 2 as well, 13-5. The Pearl then went back the other way, and that ridiculous map that they nearly closed out the series on. But then the final map, again, it was a bit of a takeover, this time from Zekken, who went 23-14 for the dub. But it was really the map 2 and the map 1 where Zellsis was on fire, and you know, meant that they never even required that deciding bind. So Zellsis and the team, they qualified for Bangkok. Sentinels are going to go in addition to G2. Those are going to be the 2 Americas representatives, and probably the right 2 representatives. You look at the tournament, you look back at it, NRG didn't play well, 100T didn't play well, MIBR played well, but not well enough in the end, and I think these are, you know, the correct teams to go from the Americas that will give that region the best possible chance of winning this tournament again. And obviously, as Sentinels say, they dropped some banger tweets last night, I'm not gonna lie, with all this type of stuff going on. So some big reaction from many of the players. As Zellsis says, we made it to Bangkok. You know, obviously Aspas giving him a lot of credit for his individual performances, but not quite enough in the end. And as Bang says, can't spell Bangkok without Bang, so he's going to be there. I thought good result from him and the Sentinels guys, and excited to see whether they can do it again at the first Masters tournament of the year. Even Gunter, who's coaching the team, says, we qualified, could have and should have been a clean sweep, but you know, we put in lots of time and it's worked out well. Zellsis gives him some nice credit too in the replies as well, and you know, even VCT Scrum says this. So Redux is turning 18 in April, and that's relatively soon. It's a couple of months away. So there was a feeling, and there still is a feeling, that if Sentinels don't perform, if they have to make a roster change, the most likely thing they will do is chuck Redux in the starting team. He's been killing it in challenges for a long time, and he's probably only going to get better. So, and that may still happen, but Zellsis in this particular series really delivered, showed that he's still got what it takes, and not single-handedly, but got his team over the line in big fashion to get to Masters Bangkok. We'll see how they got on from there. Certainly the Americas should be a strong region, should be a strong region at that event. Of course, China, Edward and Trace, you never really know how they're going to get on. Bangkok's going to be mega, really, especially because the teams that have qualified and will continue to do so will likely be the correct teams. Like, you look at all the leagues and you say, well, is there anyone else that maybe should have qualified or could have done a better job at this tournament? Not really. I mean, 2 from each region means you are getting the best of the best. Is it how it should be? Not in my opinion. I kind of wish there were more teams there, and, well, I wish that there was something for the other teams to do while the teams that won have a good time over there in Thailand. But, yeah, Zekken says, yippee, we made it to Bangkok. Excited to see what MIBR can do this year, and as he says, this is the strongest MIBR team that I have faced yet. So, fair play to Aspas, gives him loads of credit, and absolutely deserving. And even Tens went on to say that doing the watch party, certainly for that map 3 Pearl, is way too stressful, and he might just need to return to playing because, it's easier to play than it is to watch all of those situations potentially unfold. So before we close out the video, let's head back here to T1 versus Gen.G. You guys may well know how this series is finalized by the time this video goes live, but yeah, as it stands, Gen.G are on the verge of making this map 11-10, at which point it's potentially an all to play for split banger to close out the series. So yeah, it's not over yet. Very much interested in your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.